Help support The Loft. Go to patreon.com/C64Woody, click the link down below, and like, share, and subscribe. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Loft Workshop, also known as my kitchen table. So this time around, not only are we going to tear down the Commodore 64C that I mentioned earlier this month, but we're going to actually get the process going on getting it restored to pristine condition. I still don't have the replacement keycaps. Those will come at a later point, and still waiting for poll results on the badge. The heat sinks aren't here yet either, but they should be here soon, and we will put those on. And we'll put the badge, keycaps, and the heat sinks on at the same time. But until then, we are going to get this case looking good. I have key puller, keycap puller, brush, some isopropyl, and I have some containers, screws, keys. And of course, can't go without this. So let's get this thing open and get cracking. Gotta say, when I was doing that tear down, I did so many takes that I got pretty good at taking this thing apart and putting it back together. All right. One's missing a spring. All right. Make a note, I actually need 4 springs. I got with that. So. I better know what's going on with the space bar. Bar is rusted. So maybe there will be a vinegar bath for some of this stuff. Try to get the keyboard or the space bar off last. That and the shift lock. If you're wondering how tedious this is, the answer is extremely. The upside is we're over the halfway point. I gotta still with that one. Getting to see just how gross this keyboard is. And of course, I am worried about the spacebar, and a lot of these springs are fairly rusty. Noticing there may be pieces of the springs left behind that have rusted completely off. The rust has gotten so bad on them that they've completely disconnected from the rest of the spring. Actually, I think this is worse shape than Clint was in when I got him. This just goes to show you that you never really know what you're going to get into with a restoration like this until you actually really get into it. There's a lot more rust in here than I anticipated. It hasn't impacted the functionality of the keyboard for the most part, but it's not good for it. Oof, that spring's pretty much done. We're going to leave that one out. I may as well just get a whole new set of springs. Yeah, they're coming apart in my hands. Not all of them are bad, but certainly the closer to the spacebar we get, the worse they are. So yeah, and somewhere along the line some moisture got on this keyboard. Now the spacebar. Since it's all getting washed anyway. Oh yeah, that is ugly. That is gonna need a bath. Oof. Yeah, that's going right over here. God, that's horrible. Okay, David, no offense to your brother. I'm sure he took fantastic care of this when he was using it. Now to get the iceberg. First things first, let's clear off as much of this as we can. And if you're wondering if my wife's going to hit my head for doing this on the table, if I don't clean it, yes. But I fully intend to clean it. Yeah, see, that's a piece of spring. I could have sworn I said I was going to be wearing gloves with this. That already looks a lot better, doesn't it? Well, you don't know, you can't see. Already looks a lot better, but we're not done. Always brush your teeth. Okay. Okay. Get some warm water going. We're going to gently clean the keyboard. Then we'll let it dry really well. Okay. I go through and pull all the springs that I can, put them in here so they can get a nice vinegar bath and see what we're working with. Because I have a feeling we're going to be losing some more springs. All right, let's soak these. These springs are going to get a vinegar bath. These are going to get a soapy bath. Let those soak for a little while. Next, tackle the case. Here we go with the case. You got this? The magic eraser. Let's get some of the harder scuffs. Keycaps have had several days to soak. Keycaps have had several days to soak. And the springs I soaked in vinegar, white vinegar, for a couple of days, and then in a jar of cola for a couple more days. I did, in the process, lose several of the springs, and there really was nothing left of them after the soaking. The stabilizer bar for the space bar came out looking much better. I could polish it further for what we're doing right now. This is absolutely going to work. It won't stick anymore because that layer of rust and crustiness is gone. Everything came out looking absolutely fantastic. Go ahead and there's something on there. Scratch that off right quick. Now the replacement keycaps that I had ordered back in March, they still have not arrived. This is several days after the last bit of footage. They still have not arrived as far as I know. But I will say from Polyplay, and I will link them down below, my keyboard stabilizers or brackets came in 3D printed. So that means we don't need this anymore. Oh, I also wanted to show you how the keyboard came out. Look at that. That is worlds better. There's still a little bit of rust on there, but that just goes with the territory. So we will be putting this back together as best we can today. I have 52 or 53 out of 65, 66 springs that are still usable. So those will go back on, and of course the keycaps will go back on. Check out the case. That came out brilliantly. So once I got it cleaned up, and I figured this would happen, I could tell kind of where there's a little bit of yellowing. It's mostly on the top of the case here, and of course now with the lighting that I have in here. Yeah, I think it's on this side. There's a little bit of yellowing and browning of the plastic, but not enough to really warrant retro brighting at this point, I don't think. Yeah, there's a little bit of discoloration on the top here, but again, not a big deal. Maybe something for a retro bright project at a later date, but for what we're doing, we don't need it. It honestly came out looking far better than I thought it would, so I am absolutely thrilled. What helped was the magic eraser and of course soapy water and letting it air dry. We're going to tackle the main board. Now this shouldn't take long because it really does not look that bad at all. So without any further ado, let's get into it. What I am going to do is I am going to take and reset all the socketed chips just to make sure all the contacts are making contact. And then we will put this thing back together as best as we can. So let's hop into it. Of course, I'm sure most of you who are watching this are aware of a hard and fast rule with chips. When you're putting them back in, taking them out, make sure the notch is in the right place. You can kill an IC or even a main board really quick if you don't do it right. So first off, we're going to just lightly brush any surface dirt maybe on there. Nice rope. The main reason we use isopropyl alcohol is 1, good base, and 2, evaporates quickly. We use like brushing your teeth, little tiny circles. Here we have that. Alright, that's looking a lot better. Now these chips, we need to clean up a little bit as well. So, move these off for the heat sinks that are coming. Make sure the pins are nice and clean. Just keep in mind, if you're going to use isopropyl alcohol, 1, for electronics, you'll want to use anything above 91%. I use 99%, or 99.9%. But if you do get it on your fingers or hands, just in general, just remember it will dry your skin out really quick. Here's our revision 5 8580 SID chip. The notch is up here. Chip, the notch is up here on the board. So we're just going to set that in thusly. And here's the CPU, the MOS 8500, a revamp of the 6510, but it's in the same family. That's a descendant of the 6502. Notch is right here. Plop that back in thusly. Here we have the VIC-2. Boom. All right. That looks a lot better from this end. It'll be hard to tell on camera, considering how this looked when I got it. Now finally cleaning it. I may want to hit it with some compressed air at a later point, but no, this looks fantastic. No dust bunnies. So now, let's put it all back together. Okay. That. Perfect fit. All right. So, our case screws. Normally this would go right like that. We're not using this. Alcohol.
No, it is. It stinks.
That's going in.
No. Alright, love you.
Love you.
Love you.
Okay.
Into the case, we needed some keyboard mounts supplied by Pixel Wizard, the same supplier of the case itself, and they finally arrived. The brackets are 3D printed, and they're definitely not poor quality. This is a thick piece of plastic that doesn't bend and should hold that keyboard solidly in place. Our Pixel Wizard brackets fit neatly in the Pixel Wizard case. Well, you'd expect them to, really. It wouldn't be much of a wizard if they didn't. The lid goes on, and
there we go. So I got a little bit ahead of myself, which I know you're shocked. I did some consulting with experts, meaning I watched clips of an RMC video on how to do this. Thanks, Neil, for retroactively tutoring me on how to put this back together. There we go. That's exactly what needed to happen right there. Slot that in. Next we slot our motherboard in, maybe. Oh, we need that in here. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug in the keyboard just to make sure this sits properly. Hey, look at that, it does. Fantastic. All of a sudden, I'm missing a couple of hex screws. Isn't that the way of things? Or a hex screw, I should say. But not a big deal. I'm sure it will turn up, and if it doesn't, no big loss. Hey, look at that, it turned up. Okay, look at that. When the heat sinks come in, I will put them on. Let's go ahead and screw the keyboard in place, and then reassemble. Maybe. One of the problems with 3D printing is sometimes the screw holes aren't big enough. Should work. And let's try this again. I love troubleshooting. That should do it. I think we got that. Now this side. You're kidding me. Same problem. Okay, do it. Took a little break because, well, I had to We're finally going to get this done. At least get the keyboard and everything put back together as well as we can right now. I have my laptop here, so that way I can actually look at the picture that I took of the keyboard before taking it apart. I've got Raycons here. Not sponsored, but hey, Raycon, if you want to get into the retro community, call me. We can chat on these. These are fantastic. They have been amazingly helpful with work. Got them as a Christmas present. But they are fantastic. It's there every day. Once again, not sponsored. But I figured I should jam out to some tunage while I work on this. So for right now, we're going to do the springs, then put back on. I do have more springs coming, so that is a plus. I'll be able to place at least some of them.
When it comes to video games, nobody compares to Atari.
I find Intellivision more sophisticated and lifelike.
Gentlemen, move over for my friend Commodore home computer system. Commodore does more than your machine.
Some of these are still fairly rusted, but some of these are still ideally should get completely new springs for the entire keyboard. That's not what we're going for right now. We'll eventually do that. Let's reassemble the keyboard as best as we can. Excuse me. Okay, this will be the last key that I put on. Once the new springs and replacement keycaps get here, this will be the final capstone. And if you could tell, it is the Commodore key, the chicken lip logo. Now, part of the reason that I am leaving these keys the keycaps off, I have to adjust that, is I want to make sure, because I don't want to have to take anything else off, I want to make sure that I know which ones don't have springs. It looks like I might have to adjust the space bar. No. Aha. All right. Spacebar doesn't stick anymore. LED back in. Look at that. Man, that looks a lot better. Even the badge looks a lot better. I'm still replacing it, but it looks a lot better. So let's put the screws in, and I have some replacement feet. Ta-da! Now, the bulk of this is done, but I'm not quite done with it. Don't worry, David. We're going to make this thing look spiffy for your brother. When the keycaps come in and the replacement springs come in, once everything gets in, I will do a follow-up where we put the final touches on this Commodore 64C. I'm excited about it. It's already looking and feeling a lot better. Now let's go ahead and put those replacement feet on. And there you have it. So I'm going to clean up down here because I'm pretty sure Mrs. Woody is ready to have her dining room table back. And finish my coffee. The next time you see me, we'll be back up in the loft. So Woody, back to you in the loft. Look at that. That's one of the old dust bunnies. So we're back up here in the loft. Magic of editing. I even did a quick outfit change. Of course, it's been several days since I actually filmed that last part. But in the ensuing days, a couple of things have come in. Fortunately, no, not the keycap. But bodes well because where I got this pen from the same shop. Retro 8-bit shop. Obviously, I didn't just get a pen. Courtesy of Run, Stop, Restore through Retro 8-bit shop. Again, this will be linked down below. I ordered sinks. Commodore 64C. What's great about these is they have the thermal adhesive already on the back, so I don't have to fiddle around with thermal paste, which I'm very happy about. Those will go on. In fact, Clint, actually, the wood grain 64 back there, also has heat sinks from Run, Stop, Restore. Different set, because this set is specifically for the 64C, and that's a different motherboard, but they are from the same place. These are good, solid heat sinks. Good job. And the other thing that came in, got some new springs. Not to completely replace all the springs, although I will do that eventually, but I did get enough to finish the row of bottom keys here. Now, they do have a slightly different feel. They're a little stiffer just because they're newer, but want to get all of them placed. And of course, the keycaps, as soon as they come in, will go on. And we're going to do the badge as well. But I'm going to wait until everything comes in. I'll do a quick update of that just to kind of cap on the whole thing. I will say it's hard to tell the color because of the lighting in here, but the plastic came out phenomenally when I first got it. Until I cleaned it, it was quite honestly really gross to touch. I would immediately wash my hands after it as soon as I could. It came out really nice and clean. It is spick and span. You can eat off of it. Please don't. But it came out fantastic. But with the color, with the lighting in here, it's hard to tell the color. So I may or may not ultimately retrograde it. I think I might. I think it could actually be a little cream white, closer to what it should be. But that will be something much later. But I'm excited about that. And I'm excited about all the neat stuff that will be coming up. That said, I want to address something. I know there was a long gap between Toy Hunters and this set of videos before the May, what I'm calling ComMAYdore. And I apologize about that. I quite honestly with work-life balance not being in balance, sleep being the level that it was, not good. I quite frankly was burnt out. Not just on the channel, but on work. And Mrs. Woody was too, and I've already adjusted my work schedule to better facilitate us being on the same schedule. And additionally, she and I are going to take the next 3 months, starting in June, really focus on our overall health. My mental health, emotional health, physical health, spiritual health, all of that. And part of that means getting work-life balance back in balance, for lack of a better phrase, and adjusting to the new schedule and really working on fitting stuff into that as opposed to trying to build my schedule around those things. This channel being one of them. So I'm going to take a break from making content for the next 3 months. I know I come back after how many months, and then I'm going away for another 3 months. That said, I won't disappear. I will still be in the Facebook group. I'll still be in the Discord server. You'll still see me on Instagram. So I won't be completely cut off. I'm not going into sensory deprivation for 3 months. But I am going to take a step back from creating content. This will give me time to also plan content for when I come back and actually look at everything that I needed. Part of what I've learned with this restoration is I really should have went ahead and pulled all the keycaps just to see exactly what I was getting into with the keyboard. And I didn't do it. But I've learned now, okay, might want to check to see what I actually need. To that point, who knows? We may come up with something that we can do with Isidore, the Amiga 1200 back here. And or I'll look into what else I need to finally finish the restoration of the Atari 2600. I am not going to be resting on my laurels for 3 months, twiddling my thumbs. I am going to be working on life balance. And when the inspiration strikes me for content for the channel, I'll write it down and figure out what all I need for that. But I do think with my current work schedule, I will be able to incorporate making content back into that. I really think that I'll be able to breathe and get stuff done, which will take a lot of the pressure off, which ultimately means we'll have more content. But it may not be at a set schedule, but there will be more content, don't worry. And also, if you're in the Austin area, the second to last weekend of July, Jack and Taylor from Pints and Amiga and myself, we will be at Classic Game Fest once again here in Austin. This year, we actually have a table. So you can come by and say hi. If you're in the Austin area, go to Classic Game Fest. And as more information about that comes out, I will post about it in the Facebook group and the Discord server. Reach out to me about that. And I'll even link their website in this video. So I will still be there. I don't know if I'm going to make a video about it. Pretty awesome video last year, not gonna lie. But this year, I don't know if I'll actually make a video, but I will be there. And I'll have Clint there, may have Isidore there with me there. And who knows, I may have this 64C, and by then, it'll really be done, even possibly RetroCore. If I haven't put up an update about this, and you stop by the table at Classic Game Fest, and I have it there with me, you may be among the first to see it fully completed. Wouldn't that be exciting? You would get a scoop that not even patrons are getting. No, don't worry, patrons would get that. Speaking of, if you are contributing to my Patreon, I greatly appreciate it. You guys are fantastic. I cannot thank you enough. But if you feel like you need to put your support on pause while I take this break, not a problem. Absolutely. I don't begrudge you doing what you want with your money anyway. But I absolutely understand if you want to rethink your contribution. No questions asked. Don't even worry about it. But I do hope to come back in 3 months with some awesome content. I will probably do a video when I come back just saying, hey, here's everything that I've learned. I read some awesome books. Here's what I read. Just updating you on life. And then we'll get into the real meat and potatoes content that you've grown to know and love. I look forward to it. I want to thank you all for stopping by for this quick. Thank you for stopping in, and I'll see you in 3 months.
The Commodore 64 family
I know to introduce your family to the world of the